Hello, this is Bill Bullard with RCAF USA, the voice of the independent cattle producer in the United States of America. Well, as was recently reported in the Washington Post, some in Washington, D.C. view our persistent efforts to restore country of origin labeling, or COOL, for beef as the zombie issue that refuses to die. And they say of us that we never give up, even when it doesn't look like we have enough votes. Well, all of that is true. We won't give up, and sooner or later, we will successfully restore country of origin labeling so American cattle farmers and ranchers can begin again to compete against the growing tide of cheaper, undifferentiated imports that importers use as direct substitutes for our domestic production. This, of course, causes our cattle prices to be depressed. American cattle producers produce the very best beef in the world and under the most stringent health, safety, and environmental standards. These producers should be able to offer their exclusive USA-produced beef to American consumers, but they can't because Congress, under the intense pressure from the meatpacking lobby, repealed COOL in 2015. The meatpacking lobby says that consumers don't care where their beef originates because all beef sold in the U.S. is subject to the same governmental health and safety standards. Beef is beef, they say, whether the cattle were born in Montana, Manitoba, or Mazatlan. And that's a direct quote from the National Cattlemen's Beef Association's unsuccessful lawsuit to defeat COOL in U.S. Federal District Court in 2013. Well, they're wrong. Where and how cattle from which the beef is derived makes a huge difference in the quality and safety of beef. Here's just one example of how U.S. production standards are more stringent than in other countries. American cattle producers are required to obtain veterinary authorization before feeding antibiotics to cattle under what is called the Veterinary Feed Directive. That requirement does not apply to cattle or beef producers in foreign countries, and it's just one glaring example of why U.S.-produced beef is superior to foreign beef. So RCAF USA has been lobbying the Trump administration to restore COOL ever since President Trump was elected. And he initially agreed and included COOL on the list of his trade negotiating objectives. But the meatpacking lobby swiftly overpowered President Trump, and the list that COOL was on was thrown into the wastebasket. When President Trump announced his Buy American, Hire American program in 2017, we ran back to the administration and said consumers can't choose to buy American beef because Congress and the meatpacking lobby repealed COOL. So American cow-calf producers and American yearling operators are really at the mercy of the meatpacking lobby with respect to whether the beef from their cattle is properly labeled as exclusively a USA product. And it's the meatpacking lobby that is not about to give up their profitable practice of importing cheaper, undifferentiated beef and passing it off to American consumers as if it were produced by American farmers and ranchers. The administration did show some interest in COOL, but the powerful meatpacking lobby quickly erased that interest. And then came a wave of freshmen congressmen and women in Washington, D.C., more than 60 of them. And these new members had yet to be indoctrinated by the meatpacking lobby, so we viewed them as another opportunity to raise the COOL issue. And we did. In March, we sent the freshman Congressional class an email and urged them to restore the common sense requirement that American consumers have a right to know where their beef is produced, and American farmers and ranchers have a right to have their product distinguished so they can at least compete against all the imports. But nothing happened right away. Then, just last month, 27 of those congressional freshmen and women sent a letter to U.S. Trade Ambassador Robert Lighthizer and stated that the final NAFTA package, which is now called the U.S.-Mexico-Canada Agreement, or USMCA, must restore country of origin labeling. Suddenly, COOL was back on the table. Taking advantage of this newfound support, RCAF sent a letter this week to the leadership of the House of Representatives urging them to condition their approval of the new USMCA on the restoration of country of origin for beef. This should be a no-brainer, but there are billions of dollars at stake. Billions of dollars that the meatpacking lobby would have to share with rural America rather than keeping it to line their own coffers. And they still have plenty of friends in Washington. But this is a win-win for American cattle producers and American consumers, and we hope to work together to successfully restore COOL for beef sooner rather than later. So please call your U.S. House Representative and urge him or her to say no to the USMCA unless mandatory country of origin labeling is fully restored for beef. With that, we're out of time. We hope you have a productive week. Thank you and goodbye.